day, everyone. We are going to be doing the Unit 1 study guide today. All right, so let's look at number 1. Daniel's house is located at point C. So here's point C. He drives to point A, so he drives all the way over to here for school. After school, he drove to Manuel's house, which is at point B, to do his homework. If the unit represents 3 units, how far did he travel? Now, I changed this up so we're crossing out the round trip. So we're just going to be talking about if he went from here to here and here to here, and that's it. That was his entire journey. Okay, in order to do this, we got to decide what we're doing. So if you look at your hot topics, we're not looking for midpoint. We're not looking for missing endpoint. We're looking for distance. We're looking for the length from here to here and here to here. So basically, you take the coordinates, you subtract them, and do Pythagorean theorem. Or you can just jump straight into the Pythagorean theorem, where if we're looking for this distance, you just make a right triangle, and it's a 3 by 4, and you just put it in the Pythagorean theorem. So you would get to this part right here, and then to get it by yourself, I'm going to add this extra step here. You have 25 squared, right? You would square root both sides, and you'd have whatever the square root of 25 is, which is 5 equals C, right? Or we can just leave it as the square root of 25 for purposes while we're doing our work. Okay, so for us, for this right here, we're going to take these coordinates right here and we're going to stack them one on top of the other. So we have going from C to A, we would have -3, 0, and 1, 4. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. Okay, we're going to subtract those numbers. So -3 minus 1 and 0 minus 4. So if you can do that, you get -4 and you get -4. Now we take this and we put in the Pythagorean theorem. So we square this plus the square of this equals x squared. So we get 16 plus 16 equals x squared, which would be 32 equals x squared. So we got the square root of 32 equals x. Or we could have made a right triangle right here. This was another way to do this. We would count 1, 2, 3, 4 hops and count, always go from the point to the corner, 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. And that's where those numbers came from. It doesn't matter that's -4 because it's just a 4 by 4. Doesn't matter if you went up, down, left, or right, because when we square it, it's going to go right back to a positive 16. All right, so that would be this distance right here. All right, if we do this again, and we go from A to B this time, so to find that distance, we would have 1, 4, and 4, 1. So if we subtract those, so we get 1 minus 4 and 4 minus 1, that'd be -3 and a positive 3. So you would square those, equals x squared. So that's 9 plus 9 equals x squared. It's 18 equals x squared. We've got the square root of 18 is equal to x. Or we could have made a right triangle. That is 1, 2, 3 hops. Go from the dot to the corner always. 1, 2, 3 hops. And that's where we got 3 by 3. So 3 squared plus 3 squared equals x squared, and we still got the same answer. All right, so now that we have this, we're going to add these together. So we're going to do whatever the square root of 32 plus the square root of 18 is. Now, if we look at our calculator, zoom out a little bit here so you can see what's going on in my head. Now, square root of 32 is this number. And while you're doing your work, you always want to go at least 5 decimal places. So 5.65685, and the square root of 18 is 4.24264. So we're still doing our work, so we're not going to round yet. We're going to add those two numbers. So 5.65685 plus 4.24264. And we got this lovely number. All right, so remember, I'm showing more work than I need to. You can do a lot of this in the calculator. All right, so we got those two lovely numbers. So right now, we have, when we added those two numbers, we got, I'll put this over here. All right, so we got 9.89949. Okay, so now they also said that each unit is really 3 units. So we're going to take this, we're going to multiply by 3. So times by 3, we get this lovely number. So this is 29.69847. Okay, now we have a couple of things going on right now. So first of all, we got this lovely number. And I want to double check that I'm actually doing this right, because I'm like, man, I don't know if that's right. Well, if you take some scratch paper and if you measure this distance right here, so from here to here, and then so we went that distance first, and then in addition to that, we also went from here to here. So this is my entire distance that day. So if you use this as a ruler, okay, that is, so we're trying to get all the way to here. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 hops, which is what we said. It's almost 10 hops. So that's pretty darn close. So that's pretty good. So this is just helping me check my answer, by the way. All right, so this should be our final answer, the 29 point whatever. And they said to round to nearest mile. Now, by mile, they mean whole number. Okay, so the question is, are we staying at 29 or are we rolling to the next number, which would be 30? That decision is made by the number after it, which is a 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I drop the ball at 6, would it roll back home or would it roll to the next number? It rolled to the next number and our answer was 30. Awesome. Excelente. All right, so that was number 1. Another thing that you need to be aware of, you cannot add these numbers inside the radicals together. Now remember, our answer was 9 point whatever before we multiply by 3. Okay, so square root of 32 plus the square root of 18 is not equal to the square root of 50. Just pointing that out. Okay, because, okay, so watch this. So square root of 32 plus the square root of 18. So that's what the answer is supposed to be, right? But if you accidentally go the square root of 50, see, those are not the right answers. You have to do the square root first before you do the before you add them together. So just pointing that out. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going. All right, number 2. All right, so on number 2, we have use the coordinate geometry to determine the perimeter of the following triangle. Round to nearest 10th. Okay, so this is straight up, let's go find the perimeter for this. All right, so let's go find the perimeter. So we have to find each one of those distances. So either you can do this part, or we can jump straight to the Pythagorean theorem, which I think is actually faster in this case. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we do the Pythagorean theorem here, okay, and remember, always go from the dots to the corner. All right, so going from A to C, or C to A, however you want to do that, that would be 1 hop plus, and you always want to start at the dot, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hops equals x squared. Now, because if you go from the corner to the dot, 1, 2, 3, 4, you might stop a little early, so that you always want to start the dot. You'll be safer that way. Okay, so let me zoom up again, number 2. Okay, so now that would be 1 squared, which is 1, plus 5 squared, which is 25, equals x squared. We got 26 equals x squared, and that's the square root of 26. And you would just leave it just like that. All right, let's do the next one. What if we go from A to B? So we go from A to B, make a right triangle. That'd be 1 hop by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hops. Oh, didn't we do that a second ago? 1 squared by 5 squared equals x squared? Yeah, we just did it a second ago. So that'd be 1 plus 25 equals x squared. That's 26 equals x squared. Got the square root of 26. Awesome. All right, let's keep going. And this one right here. And we have, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is, so that's 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have from B to C, we have 6 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. 36 plus 16 equals x squared. 36 plus 16, we get 52. Square root of 52 is equal to x. All right, so now we're going to take those numbers and we're going to add them together. All right, so we're going to take those numbers, and we can do this in our calculator, one big straight thing. So square root of 26, close those parentheses, plus square root of 26, close the parentheses, plus square root of 52, close those parentheses. So we got this big long number, or you could have changed each one into their own specific radical. So another thing you can do was square root of 26, which was 5.0990, and it should be the number 2, but if you put 1, it won't hurt. The more decimal places you go, the safer you'll be, plus 5.09902, and square root of 52, which was 7.2110. So if you add all those together, 5.0, let me clear this, 5.09902 plus that same number plus 7.21110. We got this big long number, or more accurately, what we got earlier was all this, right? So, and they said to round to the nearest tenth, and so we got 0.40. See, those are pretty close. So this is more exact, but this still works as well. Okay, so we got the answer is 17.40914, and they said to the round to nearest tenth. How many zeros does 10 have? Tenth has 1 0, so we're going one decimal place. So 17.4, so our answer would be 17.4, or go one digit up, 17.5. That's the question. Is it this one or this one? That decision is made by the number after, which is a 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I drop the ball at 0, it would roll back home, and my answer was 17.4. And that was the answer to number 2. All right, let's keep going. All right, so now we're on number 3. All right, number 3. Number 3, they said the midpoint of DJ. So here is D, here is J, and we want the middle, right? The midpoint. So if you look at your hot topics, when we're given coordinates, we want the midpoint. All you have to do is add them together, divide by 2. So basically, we just want the middle. That's it. So you just add them together, divide by 2. So in this case, you could probably just look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hops. Half of that would be 3 hops. 1, 2, 3. So this is where the middle should be, right here. But let's do it mathematically, just to double check everything, right? All right, so D to J, we have, so we have -4 plus that 2 all over 2. That would be -2 over 2, which equals -1. So the answer would either be G, or the answer would be -1. If they said name the point, the answer would be G. If they said name the value, which means number, it would be -1. And they said, hey, what's the value? So the answer was -1. Now, be careful. This another thing that could happen was -4 plus 2 divided by 2. That does not equal -3. Just point that out. Let me explain why I just pointed that out. Okay, so what happens here? I want you to see the difference between these two answers. All right, let me do it this way. All right, we have -4 plus 2 divided by 2. This is incorrect because just look at the picture. We have -3 is I said my answer was -3. Does that look like the middle of these 2 points right here? No, it doesn't. So that's wrong. What did I do wrong? Well, what happened was you're supposed to do -4 plus 2 first equals, then divide by 2, and the answer was -1. What happened here was I accidentally just divided the second number, and that was it. So you may have to do the top first, just like I did here. You always do the top first, boop. Then afterwards, you divide by 2. So just be very aware of that. All right, number 4. All right, so on number 4 here, we have, they want us to determine the midpoint of J to L. So J to L. So nothing else exists. What you should do is cover up everything else so you're not tempted to look at it. And we're just trying to find the middle of these two things. All right, to do that, you would do -7 plus -2 all over 2. And we had figured out earlier that you always do the top all by itself first. So we have -7 plus a -2. So we got -9 over 2. And then so -9 divided by 2, and we got -4.5. So there's -4, and here's -5. So -4.5 would be somewhere in the middle. Which, does that look legit? Yes, it does. And that was your final answer. Awesome sauce. And that was the answer for number 4. Right. Number 5. Right. So for number 5, on the coordinate grid, line segment AB has these endpoints. Has the endpoint of -1, 1, and the midpoint of AB is M is 1, 4. What is the coordinate for X? All right, so they gave us coordinates. So if you look at your hot topics, that narrows it down between these three, right? So now they already gave us the midpoint. They said, hey, the midpoint was this. So we're not looking for the midpoint, so this is gone. If we already have it, then we're not looking for it. So now it's between these two. They never said anything about distance or length, so this one's gone as well. So that means we're looking for the missing endpoint. All right, so there's a couple different ways how to do this. If you look at these notes, basically, if they gave you this, you just have to figure out what the pattern was. Or you could graph it. If you have this point and this point, how do I get from here to here? If this is the middle, to get from here to here, I was like, all right, let's see. To get to here, I went to left 5, up 4. Just repeat the pattern again, and you would land how you're doing it. Or maybe you went up 4 to the left 5. We'll do up 4 to the left 5, and you would still get the same answer. So, or you can stack them. How'd I get from here to here? You just figure it out. Like, oh, I subtracted 5. Just subtract 5 again, so on and so forth. Okay, so for this one, for number 5, they said M is the midpoint from A to B. So A and B, and M is the midpoint. All right, they gave us that B was -1, 1, and they said that M was 4, 1, 4. All right, so zoom out a little bit so you can see my calculator. All right, so here we go. So we're trying to figure out how do we get from 1 to 4. All right, so 1 to 4, I would just, okay, 1, let's see, I think I added 3. Yay, I did. So I added 3, just do it again. So add 3 again, and I would land at 7. And double check, these two, 7 plus 1, divide that by 2. Did I get the 4 in the middle? Yes, I did, so that works. All right, let's try again. How do you get from -1 to 1? All right, -1, I think I added 3. Oh, nope, that didn't work. I'm supposed to get the number 1. So adding 3 didn't work. -1 plus 2. Ah, there it is. You're not always going to get it right the first time, but this works out. So I'm going to add 2. Just do it over again. So 1 plus 2, and I got the numbers 3. And I'm going to double check. Does 3 plus a -1 Divide that by 2. Does that give us our middle, which was 1? Yes, it was. Awesome. Okay, so our answer was this. So we have 3, 7. So if they asked us for the coordinates, that would be the answer, right? If they asked me for the x-coordinate, the answer would have just been, if this was my x and this is my y, if I just wanted the x-coordinate, the answer would have been 3. If they asked me for the y-coordinate, the answer would have been 7. What did they specifically ask for? They asked for the x-coordinate, so the answer was 3, which has nothing to do with this over here. All right, so the answer was 3. Awesome, and that's the answer to number 5. Number 6. All right, for number 6, find the coordinates of t if S is this and the midpoint of RT and R is this. All right, so they said that S is the midpoint, so they already gave me midpoint. So that means we're looking for the other endpoint. So it's S is the midpoint of R to T. So we have R, we have T, and this is in the middle. So S is -1, 1. They also said that R was -3, 5. All right, so how do we get from one to the other? All right, let's see. How do I get from -3 to -1? All right, let's see. -3, I think I subtracted 2. Did that work? No, it didn't. Okay, let's try something else. -3 plus 2? Oh, it did work. There we go. So add 2, just add 2 again. So -1 plus 2, and we get 1. Awesome. And I want to double check. Does -3 plus that 1, divide that by 2, does that give me my middle, -1? Yes, it does. So I know I'm doing this right. Okay, how do we get from 5 to 1? 5, I think I subtract 4. Yep, subtract 4. So subtract 4 again. So 1 minus 4. And I got the answer was -3. Double check. Do these two add up, divide by 2, equal the middle? Let's see. 5 plus the -3. I got 2. Divide that by 2. Does that give me my middle? Yes, it does. Awesome. All right, so our answer. So if they wanted coordinates, then the answer would have been 1, -3. If they asked me for the x-coordinate, the answer would have been, this is my x, this is my y. My answer would be 1. And if they wanted the y-coordinate, the answer would be -3. What did they specifically want? They wanted all the coordinates. So the answer was 1, -3. We need to put parentheses on those. And there you go. That's the answer. Let me write that a little prettier. All right, and that is the answer for number 6. All right, let's keep going. Number 7. Ooh, vocabulary words. Okay. Now let's think about the vocabulary words for a second. Now, a couple things for vocabulary words. So let's just get a little refresher here. So our vocabulary words are basically based off of this. So we have a line, so it goes forever in either direction. There's infinite amount of points and there's no endpoints. Line segment, you start at a point, you end at a point. We still have infinite amount of points on here. It doesn't matter how many there are. It could be as big as planets. They could be as small as grain of sand. So there's an infinite amount of points, and there's 2 endpoints. There is a start and there's a finish. And then array. So there is a start, but there's no finish. It goes on forever and ever and ever. So 1 endpoint, and then how many dots are along here? Infinite. It can be as big as planets or as small as a grain of sand. Okay. In addition to that, list the 3 undefined terms. Well, that's points, lines, and planes. So all of these, array, a line segment, a line, those are all types of lines. So that is the one basic thing. So line, segment, array, those are all types of lines. So we're not going to list all 3 of them. We're just going to say, oh, lines. There's the entire topic. So the 3 undefined terms are points, lines, and planes. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. Which undefined term is defined as a symbol that designates position, and that would be a point? Which undefined term is described as 2-dimensional flat space? Okay, so they said a flat shape that extends infinitely. That is a plane. Which term is described as 2 lines not in the same plane that never intersect. Okay, so that would be skew. Those are skew lines. Okay, which actually is right here. So we have parallel lines, we have perpendicular lines, so lines that intersect at a 90-degree angle. We have skew lines that intersect, that never intersect, and they are not parallel, and they're not in the same plane. So that was more words there. Okay, describe a geometric line. Okay, so a line, geometric line, basically, so that would be infinite points that are connected. Boom, 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 boom. You could also say all these other things, like there are no endpoints. It goes infinite in either direction. So there's a bunch of different ways, but this is the answer in a nutshell. How many terms in geography are considered undefined? Well, that's point, line, and plane, right? And I think that was supposed to be geometry. Geometry, sorry, there was a typo. So in geometry that are considered undefined. Okay, circle the terms in geometry that are considered undefined. And those, so same idea. So what are the three? And that would be point, that'd be a line, and that would be plane. Fabulous. And those are the answers for number 7. All right, let's go to the next page. All right, so we're on number 8. Okay, if the midpoint of E to G is F. All right, so so this right here, just looking at those, we're already talking about either this one or this one, right? Okay, so we need to make a line. If it's the middle, if it's a midpoint, it's right there in the middle. If it's the word between, it could be a little bit to the left, it could be a little to the right, I don't know. Like this one right here, I'm going to decide, is it to the left or the right? I might put it a little to the left, but the numbers might not match. Like, oh, this is smaller, but I drew this picture, so you can't trust it. So it's okay if you put it to the left, or if you put it a little to the right, as long as it's not smack dab in the center. Okay, now, so they said midpoint. So here we go. So I'm going to draw this. We have, so F, if the midpoint of EG is F. So F is in the middle, right? And we have E to G, and we know that this and this are equal. We know that E to F is 12x minus 15, and we know that F to G is 4x plus 9. All right, and we just need to solve for this. So for this, we're just going to set them equal. So 12x minus 15 is equal to 4x plus 9. Set those equal, and we're going to solve. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And I get 8x minus 15 is equal to 9. I'm going to add 15 to both sides. 8x is equal to 15 plus 9. We get 24. All right, we have 8x is equal to 24. I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And we get that x, ran out of room, so I put it up here, x is equal to 3. Whoops, only helps if you can see it. All right, so we have this. All right, so once you have x, you always plug it back in to see if this worked out. So you always plug it back in. So I want x, I want the left side, EF, I want the right side, FG, and I want the whole shebang, E to G. All right, so I'm going to put this in my calculator. All right, we have, so I'm saying that x was 3. So I plug this back in, so 12 times 3. And then if I subtract 15, I got the answer was 21. Okay, so we got 21. If I plug it in here, we have 4 times 3 plus 9. And I got 21, which is perfect. It was supposed to be equal, right? Does 21 equal 21? Yes, it does. That was what it was supposed to be, right? So I feel really good about that. And then I don't have the whole shebang. So if this is 21 and this is 21, then what would the whole shebang have to be? 21 plus 21, this right here would be 42. Now I'm ready no matter what they ask me. I already know I'm totally correct. Now I just have to pick out which one they want. They wanted EG, and the answer was 42. Awesome. All right, let's keep going. And that right there was the answer number 8. All right, number 9. All right, so for number 9, they said that what is the length of the line segment QR? Use these right here. All right, so we have, draw my little line right here. They said Q is between P to R. So we have P, we have R, right? And Q is somewhere between. I don't know if it's more to the left or more to the right. So I'm just going to guess. I'm going to say it's over here. Not sure if it is, but we'll see out. So Q is somewhere between there. All right. We know that if P to Q, so QP is 36, and we know that Q to R is 9Y, and we know that P to R, that's the whole shebang, was 144. So that would be this plus this equals the whole shebang. So we would have 36 plus 9y is equal to 144. All right, we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. 144 minus 36, we get 9y is equal to 108. We divide both sides by 9. So 108 divided by 9, we get y is equal to 12. Awesome. So now we have y equals, I want the left side PQ, I want the right side QR, and I want the whole shebang P to R. Just find that every single time, right? We just said that y was 12. Now let's plug it in. Okay, P to Q. Well, that's already there, right? So that's just 36. Q to R. Q to R is 9 times whatever y was, which was 12. We got 108. And then the whole shebang, they already told us, was 144. And does that work out? If this is 36 and this right here is now 108, does this plus this equal the whole shebang? Let's see. 36 plus 108. Yeah, that is one. This plus this does equal 144. So I know I'm doing this right. Awesome. Now let's answer their question. They said, hey, what was Q to R? And Q to R was 108. So we did a couple extra work on this one. We probably could have gone, forget the 9y, and we still could have figured this out. But hey, just go through the motions, you'll still get the right answer. Fabulous. All right, number 10. Okay, so number 10, graph the figure and then find the perimeter. Okay, so best thing you do is, well, this doesn't make sense to us, but if we had the graph, that might make our lives a little easier. So let's just graph it. So the biggest number we have is 10. So let's go to our graph, which is on the back page there. All right, and let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so this will be my middle. All right, so let's go ahead and plot this. We have, they said that A was at 2, 1, 2, positive 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's my A. Then they said 2, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my B. They said C is at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my C. And my D is at positive 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Positive 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So then, all right. I'm going to connect the dots here. All right. Okay, so here is my lovely, lovely picture. Okay, now a couple different ways that we could do this. One is to do mathematically the this minus this, or we could just count our hops. If it's straight up and down, we can just count it. That's 1, 2, 3 hops, right? So, or we could go, okay, that is a 0. That is 0 squared. So that's 0 by 3. So we have 0 squared by 3 squared. equals x squared. That's 0 plus 9 equals x squared. We get 9 equals x squared. We got the square root of 9. Or in other words, the number 3, right? Okay. All right, that's the first one. All right, if I do this one right here, make a right triangle. That is 2 hops by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hops. So we have 2 squared plus 6 squared equals x squared. That's 4 plus 36. That is 40 equals x squared. Got the square root of 40 equals x. All right, let's keep going. Okay, then we have, let's do this one right here. That is 1, 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 2 squared by 5 squared equals x squared. So we got 4 plus 25 equals x squared. We got 29 equals x squared. Got the square root of 29. And then this one right here, we went up 0 and we went over 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 0 by 4 equals x squared. So that's 0 plus 16 equals x squared. That's 16 equals x squared. We got the square root of 16 equals x. All right, fabulous. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add up all those sides. All right, so in my calculator, okay, we got the square root of 9, close those parentheses, plus the square root of 40, plus the square root of 29, plus the square root of 16. We get this nice, lovely number, and they said it's in yours hundredths. All right, so when we add these together, now hundredths, that's 2 decimal places. So we're either staying at 18.70 or we're going up a number. So that'd be 18.71. All right, that decision is made by the number after, which is a 9. All right, so if we drop the ball at 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, that would roll to the next number. So our final answer was 18.71. All right, awesome. And that's the answer, number 10. All right, number 11. All right, so number 11, they said if B is the midpoint, that means this is the middle of this. So this and this are equal. And they also said that A to C, so all this is 8x minus 20. Now for midpoint, that means that the left side is equal to the right side, but we don't have anything there. This is equal to this, but there's nothing there. So if we don't have that, we have to say this plus this equals the whole shebang. So if this is 3x minus 1, then the right side is also 3x minus 1. So we're going to have 3x minus 1 plus 3x minus 1 is equal to 8x minus 20. That is 6x minus 2 is equal to 8x minus 20. And then you just solve. So after I subtract 8x from both sides, I get negative 2x minus 2 is equal to negative 20. If I add 2, I get negative 2x is equal to negative 18. And then, running out of room, so I'll put it down here. We have negative 2x is equal to negative 18. Divide both sides by that negative 2. We get x equals 9. All right, as soon as you have that, we need our x, we need our left side, A to B, we need our right side, B to C, and we need our whole shebang, A to C. We just said that x was 9. So if you plug this back in, okay, 3 times 9, and then you subtract that 1, we would get that this was 26. Okay, and the right side would also be 26, right? Because it's the same exact thing. And then because it says 3x minus 1 on both of them. Okay, and then 8. Now don't just assume that this plus this equals that. Actually plug it in. 8 times that 9 minus 20, and we get 52. Do these two add up to equal that? Yes, they do, so we know we're doing this right. And then they said find a B to C, so the answer was 26. And that right there was the answer to number 11. Okay, let's keep going. Number 12. All right, number 12, words. While planning the layout of her yard, Liz created a grid system representing her backyard. All right, so there's just a grid. That's all I heard. On the grid, Josie placed the herb garden. All right, so the herbs is at A. Okay, she wants to place the bird bath. So the bird bath is at B. Liz wants to position the flower garden so that the bird bath is halfway between. So the bird bath is the halfway point. So we have the midpoint. The bird bath is in the midpoint. They already gave it to us. So we're looking for the other endpoint. So we have, so B for the bird bath, birds, that is the halfway point. Okay, so that's the midpoint. So then A and C, which is the herb garden, and I'm just calling it C, and that's the flower garden. Those are the other 2 points. All right, let's see, what did they give us? They said A was 314 and B was 729. All right, let's find the other points. All right, so how did we get from 3 to 7? All right, so all right, 3. How did I get to 7? I would add 4. Yep, that worked. So just add 4 again, and we got 11. And is 7 in between those? Let's see. Does 3 plus 7, all that divide by 2, does that, let me try again. So 3 and 11. So 3 plus 11 divided by 2. Do we land on 7? Yes, we do. So that's telling us that's the middle. That's awesome. Okay, now how do we get from 14 to 29? Let's see. 14, I think I add 15? Or maybe it was 14. Nope, 14 didn't work. 14 plus 15, yay, awesome. So it worked. So it's add 15. So just do it again, because you're not always going to get it right the first time. Okay, so 29, add that 15, and this would be 44. All right, so let's double check. Does 14 plus that 44 get that number and then divide by 2? Does that, yep, that's the middle. Fabulous. All right, so our answer was 11, 44. And that is the answer to number 12. All right, number 13. Given these coordinates and B divides A to C by 5/6 of the way from A to C, find the coordinate of B. All right, so 5/16. So this is a ratio. This is a ratio thing. Okay, so for ratio, that right there, think along the lines of partitions. So we're not even worried about, they are only focused on this bar. That's it. Nothing else is happening. They're only focused on this. So that's what they're looking for. All right, so they're looking at that bar, then we have to worry about the weight because we want to know where the location of that bar, where that fulcrum is. So now looky here, the ratio 3 to 1, what happens is the ratio, between the ratio and the weight, they flip. So 3 to 1, the 1 weight would go over here and the 3 weight would go over here. All right, so with that idea, if I make this picture, they said 5/6. So 5:6. So 5/6. That means that we're going to have 5 hops. Then we're going to have 6 hops. That's what that means. So it's going to be more over here. Now that is from A to C. That means that there's going to be 5. So that means right here, that means that the 6 is going to go over here. There's going to be 6 A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for C's, there's going to be 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what's going to happen. Okay, so for that, now all we have to do is stack them. So we stack them up, we add them together, and divide by how many total there are. So in this case, I'm going to have 6 A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 5 C's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My A's were 4, -7. I'm going to write that 6 times. And my C was -4, 11. And I'm going to write that 5 times. All right. And now how many total are there? Well, there were 5 and 6. Total, that would be 11. So we're going to add all these together and divide by 11. All right. So when we do that, so in my calculator, I have basically 6A, so 6 times that 4, plus that, and I have 5A, so 5 times that -4. All right, so we got the number 4. So 4 over 11. Or I could have just sat here and just added every single one of them. No big deal. And then over here, we have 6 times -7 plus, and we have 5 of those 11s. We got 13, so that'd be 13 over 11. Okay, and that's as simple as it gets, right? So that's the answer. Now, if you want to go that extra step and figure out what was going on, we could graph this. So I'm going to show you what it would look like graphed. Okay, so for that, right here, so here's A and C right there, right? Now, if now we're going to try to match it up to this picture. So I'm just going to turn this sideways here. So we have this. I'm going to just turn it so it matches my picture here. All right, and we know if, and the midpoint is right there in the middle, right there. There's the midpoint. And I know I'm a little to the left of that, which is right here. And that's exactly where the point was. It's just right there, and it's on this line. If it's not on this line, something is wrong. So right there is the answer. So because we said our answer was 4 over 11, comma 13 over 11. So if you put those in decimal form, the location would be right about here. And we said it was to the left of that midpoint. So if I turn this way, it's a little to the left. So it's perfect. All right, awesome. All right, let's keep going. Number 14. Just in case you're looking at 13 again. Boop, there was the answer. All right, number 14. Okay, so on number 14, graph the following, ABC, which represents a skateboard. Okay, so needs to add a straight edge to this. Okay, so they say like a lot of words. I have no idea what's going on, right? So what we're going to do is, just to have a better understanding of what's going on, I'm going to plot these and hopefully everything's going to make sense here in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to let that be my thing. Okay, so that's 1, 2, comma 1, 2, 3. There's my A. Okay, then we have 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, comma 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my B. And we have 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, comma 3. 1, 2, 3. Have no idea what's going on. Just faking it, and hopefully things will fall into place soon. Okay, so here's my picture, right? Okay, so we have this picture. Now I'm going to read this again, and hopefully it'll make more sense. Okay, so we graph those points, which represent a skateboard ramp. Okay, there's the ramp. Bob needs to add a straight edge support from point C. So here's point C. So we're going to add a straight edge from here to the midpoint of AB. So here's AB. So we have to find the middle of this. So wherever that middle point is, wherever that is, the midpoint, and we're going to make a line going from one to the other. Okay, so we need to find this distance. But before we can find this distance, I need to know where this point is. Okay, so for this, the first thing I have to find is the midpoint of A to B. So, zoom in a little bit. All right, so the first thing I need to do is find the midpoint of A to B. I don't know what to do after that, so let's just fake it. Let's do that first. So AB, so midpoint of A to B. So we have 2, 3, and 16.7. We're going to add those together, divide by 2. So we have 2 plus 16, divide by 2. That's 18 over 2, which is 9. And over here, we have 3 plus 7 over 2. That's 10 over 2, which is 5. So we just found out 9, 5 is the midpoint. Awesome. All right, let's put that back in our picture, and then we'll reread this. Okay, so we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, that's right about where I said it was going to be. All right, there's the midpoint. All right, let's reread this. So Bob needs to add a straight edge support bar from point C, which is right here, to the midpoint of AB, which is right here, 9, 5, right? So we need to add a straight edge from here to here. So I need to know what that distance is. Okay, so we have the midpoint. We have C, which was at 16.3. And then they said to find the distance. So find the distance from C to that midpoint. All right, so C was at 16.3, and the midpoint was 9.5. So all we have to do is find that distance. So we can either do it by this picture here, where I'm just going to make a right triangle out of that red line, right? So that's a 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or we could subtract those numbers, right? So I'll zoom in here. So 16 minus 9. So 16 minus 9, and we get 7. And then 3 minus 5, which gives us negative 2. Hey, those are the same numbers I said a second ago. We said a 7 by 2, right? All right, so now, and do Pythagorean theorem. All right, so 7 squared, that's 49, plus negative 2 squared, which is 4. All right, 49 plus 4, we get 53, equals x squared. And all I have to do is square both sides. So the answer was the square root of 53. And they said to give me to the nearest hundredth. So when you put that in the calculator, square root of 53 in your calculator, you get this number right here. So we got 7.28010 and a bunch of other numbers. So that should probably be a 1 right there. Okay, and they said to round to nearest hundredth. So the question is, are you staying at 7.28 or are you going up a number 7.29? That decision is made by the number after, which is a 0. So if I drop it down at 0, I'd roll back home. So my final answer was 7.28. So that was my final answer, 7.28. All right, and that's the answer, number 14. All right, number 15. All right, so in number 15 we here, okay, we have S weighs 3. So here's S, 3 times much as R. So there's 3 S's, 1, 2, 3. There's 1 R, and T weighs twice as much, 1, 2. Okay, so if we're looking at this, we know it's going to be over on the heavier side, so it's probably going to be somewhere over here. So all we have to do is write 1 R, 3 S's, 1, 2, 3, and 2 T's, 1, 2. All right, where are those located? R is at negative 3, S is at 2, 2, 2, and T is at 4, 4. All you have to do is add those together and then divide by how many total. So negative 3 plus 2, 2, and 2 plus 4, 4. We got 11 divided by, and how many total were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The answer was 11 over 6. And if you put that in the calculator, 11 divided by 6, we got 1.8. So if I took my fulcrum, 1.8, and put it right here, do you think that would be balanced? Yeah, I feel really good about that. I knew it was going to be closer to the heavier side, so I feel really good, and that's the answer to number 15. All right, let's go to number 16. So for number 16, they said Javier it walks from his home at K, so he's right here, to the internet cafe at O, so all the way over here. If the school at W is exactly halfway, so that means that this and this will be equal to each other. how many meters does Javier walk? So how much is this entire walk? That's what he's asking for. So first of all, we need to find what P is. So we know that these two are equal to each other. So we have 19P minus 5 is equal to 15P plus 23. So we don't need those meters right there. We don't care about that. All right, so we're just going to solve. We're going to subtract 15P from both sides. We get 4P minus 5 is equal to 23. We're going to add 5 to both sides. We get 4P is equal to 28. Divide both sides by 4. So 28 divided by 4, and you get P is equal to 7. All right, now once you get that, you always plug it back in, right? So we want to know what P is. We want to know what the left side is, the right side, and the whole shebang KW. All right, so P was 7. Then the left side, if I plug that back into the calculator, okay, that'd be 19 times 7 minus 5, so that'd be 128. Okay, plug it into the right side. 15 times 7 plus 23, that's also 128. That's perfect. So the left side and the right side are equal. That's what they said. And then the whole shebang, well, I don't know what that is, but I can find it. We would do 128 plus 128, and that'd be 256. And what did they want from us? They wanted the whole shebang. He wanted to know how far from here to here was. So that's the whole shebang, and the answer was 256. Okay, let's keep going. Number 17. Number 17, P, find point P if A weighs 3 times. So A, so if I just turn this a little sideways, it might make a little more sense to you. All right, so there's 3 A's, 1, 2, 3, as B, and B, there's only just 1. Okay, so that means we're going to be closer to the left side. So this other part doesn't exist. It's going to be a little more to the left, so it's probably somewhere over here is our final answer. Okay, so here we go. We have 3 A's, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to have 1 B. So now I know you guys want to switch stuff all the time, but if they give you the ratio, then the weight switches. But if they give you the weight, you just take it. If they already gave you the weight, just take whatever they said. Okay, so right here, they said that we have -4 on all those A's, and we have 2, 0 for your B's. All right, so we're just going to add those together and then divide by how many total there were. So in my calculator, -4, -4, -4, and the number 2. And we pop out with -10 divided by how many total? 4. And we have -4, -4, -4, and 0. And we got -12 over 4. Awesome. Now, can you simplify this? Yeah, that -10 and that 4, we could take out a 2 top and bottom, so that'd be -5 over 2. And then -12 divided by 4, straight up, is the number -3. So this is an answer. Or you can give me the decimal, -10 divided by 4, which was -2.5, or -5 divided by 2, same idea. So -2.5 and -3. So this right here is not acceptable because these are not simplified, but these two answers are acceptable. So if they said, give me the fraction form, you'd have to give me this one. If they said decimal form, you'd have to give me this one. They didn't specify, so both answers are technically correct. And let's check if this is right. They said -2.5, so 1, 2 and a half, and then -3, 1, 2, 3. And this is on the line. And does it make sense that the fulcrum would be right there to keep it balanced? Yes, it does. And that's your final answer on that one. And that's the answer for number 17. And number 18. Okay, a hiking trail is 24 miles. So we have 24 miles, and then there is 2 rest areas along the trail. The first rest area is located such that the ratio of the distance from start to end of the trail is 2 to 9. To the nearest hundredth of a mile, how far is the rest area? Okay, so we have 1, 2, and then We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a 2 to 9 ratio. So 2 hops and then 9 hops. And let's just pretend that those are all equal. But that's 2 hops by 9 hops. We know that all this distance is 24. Okay, so we know that this is 24 miles. I'm going to write this over here. So we know that this entire distance is 24 miles. That's 24 miles. Now, how many hops were there total? There were 2 hops and 9 hops, so that means that there were 11 hops. So how far is this for every single hop? So for each hop, so 24 miles divided by the 11 hops. So 24 divided by 11, we found out that it is 2.1818, basically 2 miles per hop, right? Okay, so if that's true, then from here to here there were 2 hops, right? So I got 2.18182. Only works if you can see it. Okay, so this was 2 hops. So multiply by 2. So this distance from here to here is 4.36364, right? From here to here. Now I could subtract from 24 to get this, or I could do the same thing and then 9 hops. That would be 19.63638 is from here to here. Or I could have done the 24 minus that number. Would I have gotten the same number? Let's see. Yeah, I basically got the same number. It's just off by just a smidgen because of rounding. Okay, that's why we always go 5 decimal places. The more decimal places you go, the safer you'll be. Awesome. Okay, so we have that. Now, what did they want? They wanted to nearest 100th of mile. How far is the first rest stop? So they wanted this number right here. So we have 4.3, they said hundredth, so 2 decimal places, 4.36, or the next number 4.37. That decision is made by the number after, which is a 3. If I drop the ball at 3, would it roll back home or roll to the next number? It would roll back home. So my final answer was 4.36. And that's the answer number 18. And then on number 19, they say summarize what you know, what you need to study, and where you can find those problems to practice. So make sure you write that. Hopefully that helped you with everything you need, and have a great and wonderful day.